For the longest time, we've all seen AI as just a tool, right? A smarter spreadsheet, a better way to search for things. But what if that whole idea is about to flip on its head? What if AI stops being the tool and starts becoming the one using the tools?
And that right there, that's the big question we're going to tackle in this explainer. We're really shifting gears here, moving away from AI as your helpful little assistant and stepping into this wild new world of genuinely autonomous agents that can make their own moves in the economy.
All right, so let's get this straight right from the get-go. Most of what you hear about is AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence, this idea of a general mind that thinks like a human. But there's something else bubbling up, and it might be even more important right now, the GEA, or Generalized Economic Agent. And here's the kicker. The GEA doesn't need to think like you and me. It just has to act like a business. And believe me, that difference changes everything.
So let's put a pin in that. What in the world is a generalized economic agent anyway? Let's get a clear definition on the table.
Okay, so you really need to toss out that idea of an AI assistant. A GEA is designed to function like an entire company. I mean, picture this, a business that finds its own customers, manages its own bank account, and launches its own products, all with 0 human employees. Not one.
And how does it do that? Well, at its heart, a GEA runs on this constant, closed economic loop. It's always sensing the market, deciding what to do, and then just doing it. It gets paid, pays its bills, checks its work, and then, and this is the most important part, it learns. It looks at the pure, cold, hard numbers, the profit and loss, and gets smarter for the next go-around. It's basically a self-improving economic engine that never stops.
Now, I know this sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's actually built on a very real, very specific technology stack. See, AGEA isn't just one magic AI model. Nope, it's a whole ecosystem of different systems all working together. So let's pop the hood and see what makes this thing tick.
And this is super important. You can't just slap the GEA label on any old AI. To earn that title, it has to pass 7, let's call them non-negotiable tests. It's got to pick its own projects, control its own cash, and actually bring in real money. And it has to learn from its own financial statements, just like a real CEO would. This is what separates a true autonomous agent from just a really clever piece of software.
Think of this tech stack like a building, with each floor having a critical job. Right at the top, in the penthouse, you've got the intelligence layer. That's the brain, making all the big decisions. Below that, you've got layers for interoperability. Think of it as a universal translator. Then a logic layer to handle contracts, and a really, really important truth layer, which feeds it verified real-world info. And holding the whole thing up, you've got the foundation, high-speed settlement for moving money, and a tamper-proof audit layer so we can trust what it's doing.
But here's the catch. This isn't a buffet where you can just pick what you like. The whole stack is completely interdependent. It's more like a Jenga tower. You pull out one single piece, and the whole thing could come tumbling down.
Let me give you a perfect example. What happens if you remove that real-world truth layer? Well, all of a sudden the GIA has no way to know if the information it's getting is real or fake. It becomes this brilliant genius stuck in a soundproof room making perfect decisions based on total garbage. Without that lifeline to trusted data, all that intelligence is, well, it's worthless.
Okay, so let's go back up to that top floor, the intelligence layer, because inside there is the real secret sauce, the component that makes all of this possible, and that's something called the conductor agent.
And this is the part that will really blow your mind. The conductor agent isn't the one doing the grunt work, it's the organizer. Think of it as an AI project manager, or better yet, an AI CEO. It doesn't write the code or make the marketing video itself. Instead, it figures out the goal, then goes out and hires other specialized AIs to do each piece of the job, gives them a budget, and makes sure they all work together.
To really understand how huge this is, you gotta put it into historical perspective. Think about the big inventions that helped humans coordinate. First, we got money that coordinated trust. Then, the corporation that coordinated labor. Then the internet came along and coordinated information. Well, the conductor agent is the next step in that chain. It's a technology for coordinating intelligence. It could totally change the game by getting rid of the final bottleneck, us, the human managers.
All right, so let's play this out. What happens when these autonomous, self-improving companies are just let loose on the global economy? Well, the basic rules of how businesses make money, they start to warp.
What you get is something called algorithmic profit compression.
See, these GAs are ridiculously efficient. They have no overhead, they work 24/7, and they can find and exploit any tiny inefficiency in the market in a microsecond. So all this automated competition starts squeezing the profit out of everything, pushing margins for entire industries down to basically the cost of the electricity needed to run the computers.
And that totally rewrites the playbook for being an entrepreneur. The old way was all about hiring people, managing teams, dealing with operations. The new way, it's all about having a vision, having good taste. A single person could be the creative director for a whole army of AIs, building a global business from their kitchen table. And if you fail, it's cheap, it's fast, and you just spin up another one.
Which brings us to the biggest and maybe the most challenging implication of all. We could be looking at a future where economic growth completely separates from human work.
Now, this probably won't be like flipping a switch. It's more likely to happen in 4 stages. First, you get task erosion, where little bits and pieces of your job get automated. Then comes role collapse, where entire job titles, think marketing manager, are replaced by a single conductor agent. After that, even managers become obsolete. And the final step? Decoupling. That's the world where the economy is booming, making more stuff than ever, but wages for human labor just fall off a cliff.
Once you get there, the whole system of you have to work to survive just doesn't compute anymore. And the thinking is, this isn't about politics or ideology anymore. It's just math. If the machines are doing all the producing, we as a society have to figure out a new way to share all that wealth, maybe through things like universal basic services.
And that leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. In a world where intelligence is practically free and coordinating any task is instant and automated, what's left for us to do? What makes us valuable? That right there is the fundamental challenge we're all about to walk into.